I guess they are not present. Moving on further. So we are very excited to hear some words by our Honorable Chairperson, Professor P. Nagabhushan, Director of Triple IT Allahabad. So we would like to request a respected sir to share a few words with us.
Good evening to all of you, eminent personalities from different institutions, our colleagues across the institutions and our colleagues within the institutions, and incidentally, the younger generation who would be watching the entire growth and taking the responsibility of the entire growth later to the later generation also. Good evening to all of you. Having deliberated over 2 days, this concluding ceremony is not really a concluding ceremony, but it is an inaugural ceremony for the activities which are going to happen. Most important of it is a thorough discussion amongst the stakeholders. Professor U.B. Desai and supported by IIT Kharagpur's director statement that this has got to be discussed, and Professor Ajit Tripathi ultimately seconded the whole idea that it has got to be taken up by the student community is very important, because the next generation is because of the present generation, and the present generation should also learn what they have got to leave and what they have got to generate for the next generation, which is a good idea, because ultimately the stakeholders are the consumers who should really understand the facilities. This is number one. Number two, I also go one more step further, like it was hinted that parents, I'm sure Professor IIT Kharagpur's director mentioned about parents. I'm sure some parents of these children should also be involved in another ambit, and they should also discuss over this particular issue. Flexibility is most important, and that's exactly what has got to happen. And most important in national education policy, whatever has already been happening. In fact, unfortunately, IIT directors and certain elderly elderly institutions of NITs and triple ITs focus on the point what they have been doing. The things are very flexible. In fact, national education policy tries to emulate whatever the good practices which have already been happening in IITs and already been happening in very good leading NITs. It is because of that. In fact, it is whatever has already been happening in a leading universities also. But still, what is more important is the flexibility in the assessment pattern. In spite of all these things, many professors still think of the word examination. The dirtiest word in the entire academic process is having this examination as a method of evaluating the candidates. It is assessment which has got to be brought in. Triple IT Allahabad took a very bold step and recoined the whole phrase of the section as admission, assessment and award section, AAA section. Triple IT Allahabad has said that we should not use this word examination anywhere, because examination leads to, the very concept of examination leads to preparation for examination, which totally defeats the entire spirit of national education policy. In fact, when you look at the national education policy, it strongly talks about the continuous learning and continuous assessment. It may not be new for IIT, or it may not be new for Triple IT Allahabad, or it may not be new for very good NITs, but it is still going to be new for some professors, some teachers, and definitely student generation, because the student generation think it is only examination and they have got to prepare for the stupid examination. The academy has become stupidity. It has come down to the level of stupidity only because it ultimately ends into preparation. Preparation is not the goal. The education philosophy has got to be towards learning. When learning happens, it is assessment, it is not examination. So this particular point number two, the one which I have got to really strongly advocate, as Professor UB Desai had really worked it, to the younger NITs, to the younger triple ITs, the one point that the courses should not be branded as theory courses and practical courses. And then the highest, the impossible thing which is just not understandable and palatable for me is to have a course. For example, there is a course on data structure, theory course on data structure, and there is a practical course on data structure, and you define a syllabus for practical course. This is the height of it. The flexibility at least should be for the teacher, for the faculty, and for the students to decide how and what has got to be practiced. So having a syllabus for having a separate practical course in particularly engineering education, when we talk that it is an engineering education, everything has got to be integrated. Integral composition is the engineering, right? That has got to happen. So every course should have all the three components: theory, foundation component, the knowledge component, and then knowledge transferring component and the skill component. Everything has got to go together, and surely whatever has been taught by the teacher should be administered as what has got to be practiced later. And I do not, it is not practicals, conventional practicals. You should not end up into conventional practical. It has got to be practicing and skill acquiring, competencies have got to be acquired. This is what has got to be thought of. These are the first level flexibilities which have got to be brought in, and I'm sure the things would happen. Surely, as Professor UB Desai and UB Desai just concluded, now I really tell that flexibility within the department has got to be first understood. Flexibility within the department. When we sit for the curriculum formulation, every teacher feels that his course is very important, and every teacher feels that that course should become a core course. And where is the question of flexibility? So flexibility is for the learner, and the flexibility, it should not be the elective for department, it should be the elective for students. The choice has got to be within the department to start with, and then across the department, and then that is naturally within the institution, and then interinstitutional level. At the interinstitutional level, although we say, idealistically we say that every institution is welcome, practically this is not going to happen. Practically we have got to understand the advanced JEE students are totally different, and people who join NIT and JEE system are entirely different. And we certainly, all said and done, it is just a imagination, hypothetical imagination, that we accept the student from the local engineering colleges. It is very difficult, and even if we accept, they have got to be very high level students. Therefore, the flexibility has got to be there, and the boundaries of the flexibility should also be clear. Within the system, flexibility has got to be practiced. So, as Professor Nitish Purohit, I should compliment for all the efforts, and I'm very happy that these young professors have been able to imagine what country has got to be, what nation has got to be in the coming days. They have taken the responsibility. I'm very sure all these panel discussions, and particularly the last panel discussion and today's panel discussion, plus this concluding ceremony, would have definitely given you a lot more inputs to revise your draft, and that's really going to take your concept of flexible academic program to higher orbit, right? Totally flexible system is a ideal hypothesis. Let us hope that would happen, but then ultimately learning is to take the ball towards the goal. At least that goal has got to be defined. So once the goal is defined, all your learning is oriented to reach that goal. Let the paths of learning be different. Let the courses of learning be different. let the ways of learning to take the ball to the goal be different, but goal has got to be clearly defined. Every learner should have a clear goal. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the all all who are concerned. I appreciate all efforts of all the external experts who have contributed right from yesterday. I also very highly appreciate the efforts taken by Professor Nitish Purohit and team who have done an excellent job. I'm very thankful particularly to my friend, to my colleague director from MNNIT, Professor Rajiv Tripathi, who has been standing strong with this institution, and particularly during this conference on this national education policy, he has been standing with us right from yesterday till the last point now. Thank you very, very much. Have a great evening. Thank you all.